First of all, I want to go over some updates. You might remember earlier this week we were talking about, was it last week? Christopher Wray, yeah, last week. Christopher Wray of the FBI was given 6 days to provide documents to Congress. Those documents were allegedly ones that whistleblowers revealed the existence of. And whistleblowers claim that these documents that the FBI and DOJ allegedly have in their possession detail information on crimes committed by the Biden family. They claim, for example, that these documents reveal involvement not just of Hunter Biden, but other members of the family, including Joe Biden himself, and is part of not only the investigation into the weaponization of government, which Congress is now running, where they're looking into the idea that the political systems, well, legal systems have been politicized. This also ties into the investigations into Hunter Biden and Joe Biden himself, and allegedly, again, with evidence of crimes. While Christopher Wray did not provide those documents, he was given 6 days to do so, and Congress said if he did not do it within that time frame, they would charge him with contempt of Congress. And remember, in the past, you would never see that happen. You would never see people really get charged with contempt. But now things are different, and why is that? Well, it's because when Democrats are running the investigation into January 6th, they began holding members of the Trump team and others in contempt of Congress. And so they changed the rules of the game, so to speak. And now Republicans are doing the same thing right back to the Democrats. Let me show you a story here, or let me show you the actual source. This is from the House Oversight Committee, and this is a public release. It says Comer's statement on FBI's refusal to comply with congressional subpoena. Oversight Committee will now take steps to hold FBI Director Wray in contempt of Congress. And notes the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability Chairman, James Comer, issued the following statement on the FBI's refusal to comply with a congressional subpoena for unclassified records alleging a criminal scheme involving then Vice President Joe Biden and a foreign national. And they said, quote, today the FBI informed the committee that it will not provide the unclassified document subpoenaed by the committee, meaning the document is unclassified. They can't argue, well, it's a security risk if we show it to the public. They can't argue that because it's unclassified. They can't argue that they don't have it or it doesn't exist because it's been revealed to exist by whistleblowers who've already stepped forward. And remember, whistleblower testimony does count as evidence. The FBI is just refusing simply to provide it. And the big question is, well, would they do that if the tables were turned? If this was Donald Trump and a whistleblower came forward and said, there is evidence that Donald Trump committed major financial crimes with a foreign government, suggesting maybe even foreign bribery and foreign involvement in our system, what do you think would happen? Well, look, they got the recordings of Trump and Zelensky talking. They got the recordings of that, and they even voted to impeach Trump. Do you remember that? Turns out, of course, that was regarding him trying to get the prosecutor reinstated who was fired under Joe Biden's alleged orders to cover up for his son Hunter because the prosecutor was investigating Hunter Biden. Well, Burisma more directly. Regardless, you could expect things to be very different to the tables returned, and so it raises questions on why the FBI is not giving those documents. But it says the FBI's decision to stiff-arm Congress and hide this information from the American people is obstructionist and unacceptable. While I have a call scheduled to FBI Director Christopher Wray tomorrow to discuss his response further, the committee has been clear in its intent to protect congressional oversight, authorities, and will now be taking steps to hold the FBI Director in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with a lawful subpoena. Americans deserve the truth, and the Oversight Committee will continue to demand transparency from the nation's chief law enforcement agency. What's going to happen from here? Very likely Congress is going to bring charges against Christopher Wray or recommend charges against him. I don't personally know what it's going to look like if the FBI director, who answers, of course, to Merrick Garland under the Department of Justice, has to face criminal charges under the Department of Justice. It's going to be a real issue there where, good old special interest is going to, rear its ugly head. And I don't personally know how there could be a fair trial with this. It will bring up a very complicated situation where, again, Wray, being under the Department of Justice and being in a leadership position, is going to have to face charges within the same basic agency, well, the DOJ, not FBI, face charges within that, again, for crimes. If I remember right, you can technically go to jail for like a year for this charge. Will that happen? Probably not. But more than likely, what will happen is it will make him look very bad, and it will expose the kind of the politicization within the political system, where Republicans, you could expect them to be charged for stuff like this, and in fact, some of them are still being charged for stuff like this, contempt of Congress. And so it will expose that. And in that nature, I think, it's good in that regard, even if no charges, even if nothing comes out from it, because it does at least demonstrate the bias that has found its way into the system, I believe. Something else interesting. Folks, Joe Biden may in fact be a strategic genius. He may be playing 4D chess. I'm starting to wonder if this whole senile thing is just a big ruse. Because he just pulled the move of the century, maybe intentionally, or maybe like Mr. Magoo style by total accident. But whichever it is, Joe Biden just did something very interesting.